This is K-Rock Cast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us.
On today's show.
I want that. Like, dude,
Yes.
like, give me just like a riff and where y'all are just like fucking playing. Like, it's not
But
scripted. Just be like,
again,
I
this
don't
goes
know.
this goes back to the whole thing of the K idol pop thing versus being a fucking rock band. A
Yeah.
rock band will just go for it. The guys have still got
Yeah,
this
just go
slight
for it.
mindset of Korean Idol thing, and I hate to
Yeah.
say it, they need to just fucking get rid of it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 16 Into the Garage Files. Did I say that right, Kelly?
No.
Garage. Oh, I'm learning. Into the Garage Files, part 3. So, listeners, we are diving into episodes 5 and 6. We've kind of taken a break from the photosynthesis series. So, we're going to dive into those episodes. But before we do, we want to say a really big thank you to Broses Radio on Station Head, who invited K Rock Cast to join them for their streaming party leading up to the release of the World album. Yay! Thank you so much, Broses Radio. We had so much fun, didn't we, Kelly?
We did. Thank you so much. It was brilliant, even if it was 4 o'clock in the morning for me. And I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, you did great at like 4 AM. You couldn't even
Yeah, that
tell.
that was called Yorkshire tea with 3 tea bags in it.
I know. Here I am, like, I'm throwing F-bombs like it's one of our episodes. I felt so bad. I was like, "Is that allowed? Am I gonna get, like"
I am so glad it was you that dropped it first, because normally it's me.
I feel like that would've been such a Sammy thing, right? Just, like, saying
Yeah.
some random F word and be like, "Oh, shoot, am I allowed to say that here?" Like oh, man. But that was fun. Thank you so much. And, we're excited. The World album has finally been released. It's such good news. So, everybody, hopefully you're streaming the World album. And if you're not familiar with Station Head is a great way to stream. So, we highly encourage you follow Broses Radio station on Station Head. We will go ahead and link in our episode notes the link to their radio station for everybody for the ease. But they're a great way to stream because they're going to set up a playlist for you. They're going to follow all the rules of streaming because there are rules that you need to obey by if you want to maximize the counting of your streams for the guys. And so following Broses Radio, just having it on in the background is a great way to do that. You can't mute yourself though. You do have to have it on audio, so you can't just mute yourself. But definitely follow them and get those streams up for the World album. We do have some great news about how it's charting right now, Kelly. Why don't you tell us about that?
We do. So obviously we were seeing like the first day figures come through, which were really, really promising. So as of today, which is the 1st of June, the guys are at number 17 in the overall albums on iTunes in the US. The album is number 5 in the top 10 albums of iTunes worldwide. That is impressive.
Yay!
Well done, guys.
So proud of the guys. This album, we're going to talk a little bit, listeners. I think when we talk about in our hot takes here, we're going to talk about all the stuff that's kind of led up to the world release before we do our deep dive into the photosynthesis episodes. And we're going to talk about our feelings kind of about World as a holistic album in a moment. But I just am so proud of them. I think it's a great body of work.
I do too. In fact, actually, I think as a body of work, it's the most complete one they've actually done today. I don't think there's anything that doesn't fit on the album and doesn't add to it. So yeah, I am exceptionally proud of them. Whether or not I have the right to be proud of them, but I am. I think they've done a fantastic job with it. Well done, guys.
Yeah, well done, The Rose. All right, let's talk about all the events that because Black Roses had a jam-packed week leading up to the release of World on May 30th. So we had on May 29th, the Rose live streamed on Instagram and YouTube. And I'll be honest, I thought they were gonna go one platform for like 30 minutes and then hop on
Yeah,
the other platform. They actually did both
yeah,
simultaneously.
exactly. Which led to some fun and games of which camera, which is this, what's going on, what we doing, where are we?
I
It
know.
looked like the
I
Spider-Man
know.
meme at one point.
I feel like Instagram was who like and who I don't know whose camera you're using, but that camera had a or that phone had a beautiful camera. It was like nice and crisp. Whoever's phone was used for the YouTube camera was a little bit
Not so much.
it was like I think they needed to wipe off something or something like it was like
The lens was a bit sticky.
the lens was a bit sticky, but that view was straight on to the guys where the
Yeah.
Instagram view was like a lot of times they, fell in and out. But this was so the Rose. It was fun, it was chaotic. I mean, we had Sammy and Leo rolling in 10, 15 minutes late, right? Like
Can I just say something? Can I just say how much I love our rhythm section? Hajim with his hands on his hips doing the dad routine was hilarious, and I literally couldn't do anything but laugh.
he was so
Oh,
annoyed, and you're right, he had the dad stance, like, this is how he disciplines Bella.
it was to a T, that dad stance.
Bella's seen that look from her dad before.
Get in this house now!
He was so annoyed. I'm with you, Hajun. Come on, Sammy and Leo. What the fuck?
I
Like,
think no,
it's called an alarm.
I think my favourite though was Tay going, "What time is it? It's 2 o'clock."
What time is it for you? 2:02
PM.
Are you guys watching this video, Leo and Sammy?
Hi, Leo. Hi, Sammy.
It's 2:02.
Live was 2,
Yeah,
but now it's 2:02.
yeah.
What the?
Shout out shout out to the Black Rose that screenshotted all of Leo's comments in the live stream on
Oh my
Instagram
god.
where every 2 seconds
I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there.
I mean, that sounded like something we referred to in a previous episode.
It did. It really did.
Oh my god. So what do you think? Because Sammy talks out his ass. We know this. You can only believe what comes out of that man's mouth with a little bit of a grain of salt. But do you think it's true they've been aligning themselves for the last 4 months to European time?
Well, it wasn't European time. It was BST that they were aligned to, because actually it would have been 7 o'clock in Europe.
Yeah.
It was 6 o'clock in Britain. But yeah, I think they will have been working around the clock though, both of them, because as we've both discussed, they're dealing with people outside of their remit, out of hours, different continents, and everything
Yeah.
else. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
come on, give them the due. Yeah, we'll let them
Oh,
off
come
this time.
on. Like, I'll let him off this time. But yeah, poor Hajun. So the point of this live stream was Windfall had put together these really nice merch boxes. Two of them were black, two of them were white. They had this beautiful seal. So, like
Yeah,
Hajun
the
said, they
seal was
made this
lovely.
rose seal, wax seal. It was gorgeous. And they were going to unbox the merch. So the merch isn't on sale as of today, but we had seen just some photographs of the merch. But this was seeing the actual like item. That was the point of the live stream. And so poor Hajun, it's not like they could like start to do anything because they wanted to wait for
Mm,
Sammy and Leo to unbox. So it made it so awkward, but they did fill the dead air,
it
pretty
did.
well. So Sammy rolls in and then's looking around like, well, where's Leo? And it's like, oh my God. like,
Hey, at least he thought he was the only problem child.
like he thought, oh, it's okay if I'm, late. But so then they had to wait more for Leo. Then he comes rolling in and Kelly, you know. You know how I reacted when I first saw Leo, right?
I
Because you
know,
know what he was wearing, right?
I know. Yes, the zombie apocalypse had started, and that's why he was late.
That hat! I waffled on about this in the last episode why is he constantly wearing that hat to wreck me?
Because he knows, secretly he knows. He's doing it just to annoy you.
You know what? Has he listened? Does
He
he know
might
now
have.
it wrecks me? And now he's wearing it on purpose?
Do you know something? He possibly has.
Leo, if you're listening, I need you to stop with that hat.
I
Wear
love
your
that.
merch hat. Wear your
Why
merch
is it
hat.
that one particular hat?
I don't know. And it's like how he looks in it. It's just like this, like, it's that I don't give a shit vibe. It's like really a turn on.
I
It's like,
worry
I
about
don't
you.
give a shit. I don't give a shit, but I'm also gonna pick our kids up from soccer, honey. What do you want for dinner? It's like both of those together, which is like perfect.
Anne, my darling, I love you with my entire heart. But somewhere there's a really nice white jacket with lots of buttons on it and really long sleeves. And they're quite snug. I think we can get you one.
I have this crazy mind. You know how I get. All right.
You're not kidding.
So this was fun because once everybody's there, they open the boxes, which was hysterical that Hajun didn't know how to open his box, and then Sam, like, ripped the back of it, just, like, ripped into it. It's like, "What is going on? These guys are so funny."
I'm sorry, there was a lost in translation moment then. I'm very, very sorry, but anybody who's British will have also laughed as well.
Oh, no, what did I say
It doesn't matter. It
unintentionally?
doesn't
I
matter.
don't even wanna know.
Let's leave that sentiment there and let's move on.
Oh, no. So we got Sammy put on the hoodie sweatshirt that has Zoom on the back in the red, and I guess he did say it means breathe. So I guess I was wrong in thinking it could mean hide, like don't hide. I still don't quite know what don't breathe, how that connects to the song.
We'll look at this at some point later on when we do a deep dive into the actual album, but think about the other track and mentions of breath.
You know, the other thing I'm just thinking about is when Dojun explained in the AI podcast live, when he talked about why it's called Zoom because Sammy said that that word letter looks like a house. So
It does
maybe
look
the
like, yeah.
point isn't don't breathe, it's I don't have a home.
Yeah,
Because one of the themes running through this album is like they're lost.
yes.
And the words are saying running back to you over and over again. So maybe it's more representing like I don't have a home. Okay.
We're doing a deep dive into the album. No, this is later on, not now.
I'll save that. I would say the fun part was they were just trying on all the items and they openly joked about that red striped shirt looking like Where's Waldo, which we already talked about that. The
Honestly,
Black Roses totally called that
honestly.
out when they first saw it. When Dojun first wore it in an old promo video, and so I
Uh,
just love that they riffed on that. That was
I
hysterical.
forgot that you call it Where's Waldo, don't you, in America? We call it Where's Wally.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
where's Wally?
it's Where's
Yeah, we
Wally.
say
Yeah,
where's
it's
Wally.
Where's Wally for us.
Yeah, that was cute. And then then they some of them put on the pajamas, and then Sammy
Let's
said they
not
look like
talk about the
hospital pajamas.
let's not talk about the pajamas.
We're gonna change into the hospital look, so you could imagine what the rose would look like when they're in the hospital.
Which became like the joke all through him saying that they look like hospital pajamas.
Look like a K-drama, and it's got to that third act where everything's just about right, and then one of them has a car accident and ends up in hospital. So this happens in every K-drama that you ever watch. Somebody ends up in hospital wearing those pajamas, and then that's the final twist, and then it can all come together at the end. So maybe that's it. There you go. You just needed to wear the hospital pajamas.
I know. I love that they all put them on, and I just I just love this part. Remember we had this conversation when Sammy tries to be funny
I'm
and he's
sorry, I
not
found this
funny?
hilarious. I was
But
literally doubled up, like piggy snorting. I thought it was hilarious.
no nobody else, like, acknowledges his joke to where he had to explain his joke, which his joke was funny, I will give that. So he comes out, listeners, with the mic stand, and it looks like it's an IV drip. So it's funny. It was funny, which is like, if you have to explain your joke failed, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Some of us got it, or should I say some of us were paying enough attention to get it. I mean, I know
Yeah,
they
I
always
think
go
Black
about
Roses probably thought it was
Hajun and his
funny.
dad jokes, but I kind of get the feeling that they're that way with Sam now.
Yeah. So we learned that Hajin picked out the material for the items, and it sounded like they'd upgraded their material for
Yeah, I
their
think they I
items,
think they
which is
needed to, because I mean, to be perfectly honest, the stuff that I saw in London for the last tour, it wasn't great. It wasn't the best quality.
yeah, it sounded like they'd had some trouble, like, finding, like, good items that they could ship, and make
Yeah.
available everywhere. Now, Hajun started to explain the hat, and I
Yes, it
got
was
super
a
excited.
sidetrack. Yeah.
And then the only one he explained was the most obvious one on there, the line through the word tomorrow, meaning there's no tomorrow. And then he
Yeah.
stopped.
Yeah.
I was so annoyed.
Well, if you get chance during one of the Q&As, you need to ask.
Do need to ask, but I kinda know how they are, and they never answer anything seriously.
They do
You know how they are
occasionally.
through the Q&As.
They do
They won't say anything that's
occasionally.
real or serious.
It takes a
Mm,
tangent, but it does sometimes happen.
yeah. Well, I will ask if I ever get a chance to, or if anybody else is as curious as I am and you get a chance to ask, please ask, because
Yeah,
it's killing
please
me.
do.
All right. Let's see. Oh, Hajun showed us the little pin, so I guess that's gonna be sold maybe at the concerts.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I think all of this stuff
Yeah.
will be. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the ending of it just warmed my heart. They all stayed in the PJs, they sat around and they did some sing-alongs. They kinda
Yeah.
sang some songs while Taegyun played guitar, which then we kinda learned, I feel like, through this, which was reinforced in the live performance clip, that it is Taegyun playing that amazing guitar riff and Slowly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll get on to that. I've told you. I'm not going to start waxing lyrical about that just yet. We'll wait until we do the breakdown.
They said that their instruments have already gotten shipped, so the
Yeah,
instruments are already on their way to Zurich.
yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, shipping these days is an absolute bloody nightmare, especially with everything that's happened with borders and
And that was
Ugh.
I mean, they did this on May 29th, and the first show is June 9th, so they gave themselves a lot of time to make sure their instruments got there.
Oh, you need to. I mean, the actual freight itself doesn't take time. It's sat in customs, and if your paperwork isn't right, that's the issue.
I think it's just so heartwarming and fun when they come on and they do those that are just, like, silly and chaotic, because I think that's what fans just enjoy about their energy, so it was great. So, Kelly, why don't you go into kind of giving us the overview? On May 30th, we got that beautiful live performance clip video.
We did. We got an absolutely stunning live performance of the entire EP, and I was quite surprised by this because it was sort of like just a dump of everything. And
Right.
I don't know what you feel about this. It feels as though like the entire album has just been dropped all at once, which isn't a traditional thing because traditionally what you would do is you would drip feed a little bit and you drip feed a bit more and
Mhm.
then the EP drops. And then potentially you might have another release further down the line. So for them to literally sort of push everything out into the world within sort of like a 3-day period, wow. Okay,
Mhm.
that's doing some. But to me, that just means that there isn't singles off of this. This is a work. This is
Yeah.
a body in itself that's just being released as one.
That's what you and I were talking about with that, and I know maybe people see "Oh" as a, quote, "title track." I personally don't see it as a title track because in my mind, a title track is like a single. Like, usually you're
Yes.
coming out, it's kind of that lead song, You would have a separate music video for it. I think O is their representation of the theme of the album.
Yes,
In
correct.
that way, to them, it could be a title track, but I agree. To me, this album is about the body of work, which is
Yeah,
why the performance video is literally the entire body of work.
yeah. And it's a great idea. I have seen it done
Mhm.
before, but the
Yeah.
actual acts that have done it tend to be quite sort of progressive acts that tend to do it.
Mhm.
So it's more like a musician thing than necessarily like, I'm sorry, but a pop thing, which the guys do fit
Right.
more into the pop sphere than some of the other acts I've seen that have done this in the past. Um, so yeah, so
Yeah.
they release this 22-minute video on the YouTube channel and they perform every single song. The guys walk into an enclosed field, and there is a really nice stage set up on there. So they've created this sort of insular, soundproof stage set, so the guys could play in all weathers, because any weather, it can change as drastically in Korea as it can in the UK. One minute it's sunny, next minute it's throwing it down. They've got all the equipment set up, and they walked into Soon as the intro music. If you notice, it isn't actually given a number, which highlights the fact that this is definitely intro music. So we
Mm.
will hear this on tour as the intro music, and then
I know,
whatever it
I was
will
thinking
go on
about
to.
that. Is it gonna be the intro, before they come out on stage,
I
you
think
think,
so.
intro?
I
Or
think
could
so.
it be it could also lead you into, so if we surmise they're gonna do this acoustic aspect of the set, it could be a connector between
It could be a
one
connect it
time to
could be
the
a
other.
connector if they go off stage and do it as a two-part act as
Yeah,
such. So if you do
right.
it as traditional
Mhm.
theatre work, you'd have a small break. So it could be the reoccurrence of, but actually for the length of the track, it makes a really, really nice intro piece into it.
Mhm.
And obviously you get that slight build and everything else. And I can imagine actually come out with that, a little bit of fuzz guitar underneath, build it, and then straight into a song with
Mhm.
a bit of power underneath it. So I can see that being a really nice skirted intro. And obviously, because the song builds, there's lots of nice instrumentation in there as well. It also leads to the fact you could get some really nice lighting work as well. We know the show's not going to be
Yeah,
OTT, but you could still get some nice
yeah.
lighting work involved with that. Because I mean, the venues that they're playing are still going to have
Mhm.
pucker lighting rigs. It's not arena lighting, but they're going to have good
Yeah.
theatre lighting.
Yeah.
The guys look great. I mean,
I mean,
they
okay. Uh, can
come on, say it. I
can
know
I
this is
insert?
annoying you. Say it. Say
The
it.
guys looked great, except, can we please call out this purple jumper that Sammy is wearing? That, I'm
I
sorry,
can't.
Sammy. I love
Can't.
you, but you looked like Barney the dinosaur or Grimace
I was going
from
to say you did
McDonald's.
say he looked like Grimace. Let's get this right. You're saying nicely he looked like Barney the dinosaur. You said he looked like Grimace.
I didn't say Grimace when I first saw him.
You did. You said
I
Grimace. You said me
Clive,
a
I'm
Grimace
gonna
meme.
blame Clive. I I have my beef with Clive. Clive was the whole creative fashion director for this. Clive, I'm loving the jeans. The jeans are gorgeous, and the
I
color.
don't
I
have
get
a
the
problem
color,
with that
Clive. I get
jumper.
what you were going for.
That jumper looks
We
snuggly as
know.
hell.
Can we just? We all know Sammy hated that fucking sweater. Can you just imagine? He hated wearing that.
I don't know. If it's snuggly, he might have liked it. I think if it felt cuddly, he might have liked it. There was no sleeves up,
I
sleeves
would.
down like there normally is.
I no. I think he was so uncomfortable in that goddamn sweater, and I bet it was hot.
Oh yeah, yeah. It would have been warm. There is that.
I got past it, like, I got over it the more I watched it, but, like, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh dear god, what does he have on his body?" Oof.
I mean, lilac was a brave choice.
I don't even mind the color. It was the shag, and then it looked like it had shoulder pads, like, he looked that's why I said
I
he looked
don't
like
think
Grimace.
he got shoulder pads. I don't think he got shoulder pads. I think that is literally just Sammy's shoulders these days. I think it was the way that the actual seams were done, so it accentuated, shall we say. I don't
But
think
the
he'd
color
borrowed something from the 80s from what Dynasty or Dallas or whatever
but
those programs were.
I get, Clive, where you were coming from with the color scheme and everything and all of that. And I just wanna shout out Clive. I mean, now that I've got my album, realizing Clive stepped up and was
Mm,
creative director, fashion director, art direction, like, this has
yeah.
all been really his vision, and I think it's just been beautifully done, except for that nasty sweater, Clive, sorry, but kudos kudos to you on everything else.
I mean, it would have looked slightly out of place if he'd got his Freddy Krueger jumper on, surrounded by
I
a
mean,
load
he
of
does that
kids.
like I said, I didn't mind, like, the color, it was just that shag material was
Well, it
not,
went with
like,
the hair, didn't he? I mean, come on.
it did, it went with his perm.
Mm,
It went with his perm.
he went with the
That's
perm.
true.
Yeah.
Alright,
Mm.
back to your overview, sorry.
So anyway, so they get the entry using Zoom. The guys go onto stage, start setting up. Obviously, they're using all their really lovely painted instruments. And from this, they then perform the 6 tracks of the actual EP. And it was so nice. It was such a crisp shot as well. So basically, a straightforward shot. They'd got tracking shots, so obviously you'll see at one point there's a drone shot. There's several drone shots, but you'll see at one point you've got a track around the
Oh,
outside. So they
yeah.
will have had tracking shots around the outside and things like that. And it was just really lovely and well done. And I think it helped the fact that it was a nice sunny day as well. I say a sunny day, they
Yeah,
were literally there all day. So they would have been there from the crack of
yeah.
dawn until, I mean, it was dusk, wasn't it? Going dark. So what would that have been in Korea
Mhm.
at that time? Sort of like 8, something like that.
8
Seemed to have been.
probably.
So yeah, I mean, they'd done a 12-hour shoot. And folks, please remember, so can we just point out this was literally filmed a couple of weeks ago, and this
Mhm.
was actually filmed the day after what I refer to as Twittergate, Xgate,
Yeah.
whichever way you want to describe it. And so Sammy hadn't slept. I mean, we'd seen a photograph of him going, and it's just like, all I can say is kudos to the makeup team. You did a fabulous job, people. Fabulous job, because he actually looked alive instead of like a
Yeah.
zombie. Because on that photograph, dear God, Sammy, you look poorly. You really did look ill. I mean, you had a lot of us worried. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, we were worried. But anyway, this live clip was lovely. So we get all of the tracks, and then we suddenly realise that they are in the midst of an invasion of kids. Of
Oh, I loved this part.
I know, but I love the fact it was an international mix of kids
Yeah, that's
who were
true.
so comfortable and so happy to be there. So after they performed Nebula, they basically got attacked by this swathe of kids. And
Yeah.
they came into shot and they were interacting with the guys, and they were so obviously very comfortable with the guys, which I think says a lot. And
Mhm.
the interactions were very, very lovely. I have heard some people say it was cliche, and to a certain point, it is slightly cliche, but it was still lovely. And again, I hate to say this, but can we stop doing this, guys? Because it is not good for ovaries or anything like that.
Oh
Can
my
we please stop
gosh.
it?
The shots of the little kids in Leo's lap and Sammy's lap, and when he's singing "Oh," and the little girl's next to him, and she's, like, strumming his guitar and singing with him. Oh, my heartstrings.
I thought that was so nicely done though, because when she was strumming the guitar, she did actually strum it, and you could see the look of, oh crap, I've not turned down my
Yeah,
volume.
because
And you
she hit it at a point where she shouldn't have, and you could hear the sound.
Yes, but kudos to Sammy, bless him. He was like, "I'm just going to turn the headstock away from you a second, and I'm going to turn the volume down. And then if you need to do it
Yeah.
again, we're all right, we're safe." But no, it was really lovely to see them all interact. I mean, seeing Hajun behind the drum kit and the little lad walks up behind him, was like, "Come on, take a stick, come on, play with me," and it was just
Aw,
so sweet. It was so lovely, and then
from
just
John
seeing
Hajun.
having seen sort of Tay there as well with his little entourage, I think is the way of describing it, who
Yeah.
were all sat there giving him puppy eyes. It was
I
it
mean,
was
to the
very, very
point of
sweet.
yeah, to that Black Rose, it kinda had some feedback, it was cliche. I think I mean, maybe, but, like, that's also part of the theme of this album is there's part of it that is very introspective, and I
Yes.
think sharing stories of the internal struggles the members of the Rose have been having,
Mm.
and then there's a part of the album that is the story of the external struggles across the world that have
Yes.
been going on with a focus, as they always try to do, with hope. Healing
Yeah.
through this and coming
Yeah.
out the other side, and when you think of the external piece, our hope is in our children.
Yeah.
That is the hope of a brighter future, and that was, to me, what they were trying to convey, and
That's
then
what they were alluding to, yes.
showing international children also reinforces that colors do not divide, you
They
know?
don't.
So, I mean, I think maybe if you think it's cliche, maybe you're not getting the point of what they were
Yeah,
trying to convey a little
I
bit.
think so too. I mean, it's I think probably by saying it was cliche, I think the terminology possibly was wrong. Cliche because it's been done before, but there's a reason it's been done before because it's so effective. And it's how
Yeah,
most
and
people,
it's
like you've just said,
true.
the children are the future of the world. And there, for the grace of God, go we, that, that the next generation will do a better job than the current generations are doing.
Yeah. 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 I just going back to of how it was shot, I was very impressed with whomever, was whether it was Clive,
Cinematography and
the
editing and everything was done
cinematography
very, very well.
very well, be it the slow motion shots, the what you talked about, the drone shots,
Yeah.
the circular shots. I thought it was so high end. It was very well done, and that it was edited in such a short amount of time given when we know that they filmed it. So again, just kind of recognition, I guess, to Clive, who was really driving the creative vision
Yeah.
of,
Yeah,
this live
definitely driving the
performance.
entire team on that. I think they did a fantastic thing. One of the things that was so sweet as well was when they were doing when the kids were drawing on the glass, which was really
Yeah,
lovely.
I
I
like
quite
that
like
touch.
that, because again, it
Mhm.
sort of ties back into the instruments being drawn on and everything else. So it's that nice circular thing
Mhm.
that we seem to get this pattern of motif with everything that they've done. Um, and then we had Sammy's new best friend. Well, he got two new best friends, but it's Sammy's new best friend who had to
Aw.
go and sit at the front of the stage with him and sing along. So that was exceptionally sweet. And then, of course, he
Mhm.
got the little lad that was sat with him, uh, and yeah, I think there was a level of comfort there that anybody that sort of recognized any patterns with that little boy, I think that says an
Mhm.
awful, awful lot. But as I said, I mean, they all had great interactions with the kids, and the kids all obviously felt very, very comfortable with them, which I think is a brilliant thing.
Yeah, Bojoon seemed a little more comfortable than he did in our Photosynthesis episode 3 when they were
Yes.
doing the debating with the kids.
Yes.
He seemed a
Yeah,
little more at
exactly.
ease.
Yeah, definitely. I think, but I think though because that's where his comfort spot was, wasn't it? It was so when they're just sat on the stage, basically doing a kumbaya, I think is the way to describe it. For
Yeah.
singing of tomorrow. Yeah, that was adorable. Yeah, however you want to describe it, it was just a nice moment, and I think the fact that it's already been viewed as much as it has, I can't remember, is it on like 147,000 views already?
Oh,
And that's
wow, is it? I
literally
haven't
like
looked
in
at it
a
in
day.
a yeah.
I mean, come on, I think that says everything.
Wow.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
there may be a population explosion following it, but yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
Um,
Kudos to the
and
Rose for helping
yeah,
populate the Earth.
to yeah, yeah, I don't know whether that's a good
I mean,
thing or a bad thing, to be honest.
Korea is trying to make more babies, so,
That's
have
true,
Korean
this is
fans
true.
watch that content. That'll
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah, 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 but we've got to bear in
Mhm.
mind their fans aren't just all from Korea, are
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're not saying that. Anyway, so then we move on to Slowly. Now,
Mm,
we know I've got an issue with this song. I think this is a
mm.
fantastic song. By God, that guitar is immaculate.
Hats
And
off to Taehyung. Wow.
yeah, so it was Tegan playing the lead on this, and his ability to play the 12 bar blues. Well done, sir. Well done.
Wow.
Absolutely stunning guitarmanship. Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And I'll leave that there.
I know, and it's so hard, listeners, for us to not wanna talk about each of these tracks, but Kelly and I promised ourselves we're doing a world episode deep
Yeah,
dive, we'll save it for there, but
yeah.
yeah, I was just beyond impressed at knowing it was him, 'cause we didn't know, like, who was playing it,
No, I
so,
mean, I had a
um
slight feeling it possibly wasn't Sammy playing it. And if it was, because the style of it, you can tell. I don't know if it's just me, sort of like having years of listening to people play guitar, and it's like a fingerprint. Different
Mm,
guitarists have different fingerprints, and it just didn't sound like Sammy's fingerprint. And if it was, he
mhm,
kind of would have had to have learnt a different way. But then again, saying that, it didn't really sound like Dojon's either.
mhm,
So the fact that
yeah.
it's come out and it's Tay is like, okay, that makes sense now. I understand that I get that now.
And now it makes more sense in his cozy live stream when he
Yes.
hinted that during the concert, that he's not going to be playing bass and so yeah, he's gonna
Yeah.
be playing electric
So
guitar in
yeah,
this
so
song.
the bass on that song will literally just be a sample bass that's played, it's triggered in the
Yeah,
background, as it was
yeah.
during that. Um, and then Ticket to the Sky was filmed at night with them all down at the front of the stage.
That was nice,
And
I like that.
I thought that was lovely. It was nice and cozy. I really liked that. And
Mhm.
I think I started to connect a little bit more with that song by that point. Don't get me wrong, I like
I
that
think
song
so
to start with.
too.
I think I connected a lot more with it then. Um, but
I
yeah,
think so
I th
too.
it was a lovely idea. I like the idea of doing it, and I liked how wholesome it
Yeah.
was, because you don't necessarily get that level of wholesome these days in videos.
Yeah, and I think to what we said where to me for the rose, the point of this is the body of work. I think it was a
Yeah,
beautiful visual representation and um back to at the end of Ticket to the Sky, sitting on the stage and Sammy just kind of collapsed. It pulled at my heartstrings because it's like you
yeah, because
said,
you know why
we
he'd collapsed.
know
Yeah,
what he had been through the night before. He hadn't slept and he had this 12 to 14 hour shoot and um, yeah, it was a little bit, like, bittersweet, but yeah, so well done. So let's move on to Dojun's live stream on Instagram. He came on May 30th, and this was a very casual live stream. I think what I like about when they do individual live streams, Kelly, is they all do something a little bit different. They kind of
mm,
pick a style that they feel most comfortable with how to engage with the fans. And so for Dojun, I feel like he just likes to talk about the music. He's most comfortable doing that. And
yeah,
so, in this manner, where the previous one he made an AI replicated podcast, he just simply came on and he was reading comments on the live performance video on YouTube. So he was just reading through all the comments from fans, as well as I think comments maybe probably on like Instagram or just saying what fans have been saying about the album. And he wanted to hear
yeah,
from fans like how we felt about the album. So I really liked that. um, I like that he was wearing one of the T-shirts that's going to be in the bundle packages if fans bought the bundle packages with the album. He was wearing one of the white
oh yeah,
one,
of
so I thought
course,
that
yeah.
was kinda nice.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and I appreciated
I have I have to hold my hand up with this one though. So this one came on at sort of the middle of the night for me. So
mm.
I sort of saw the live came on and I propped my phone up. Sorry, Dojon. I'm really, really sorry, but I fell asleep about 3 minutes in, because obviously you have such a lovely, calm, soothing voice. So you lulled me
He
back to
does
sleep. I'm
have a
sorry.
he does.
I woke up about 2 hours later and I was like, why does it say the Rose Live has ended? What's this? some weird
Yeah,
thing. No.
his especially in this one, like, he wasn't hyperactive or anything,
Yeah,
and
he was pretty chill.
yeah, it's like ASMR. Totally can understand that. I just wanna pick out a couple things that I liked that he said, which he talked about that one of the things they wanted to achieve sonically was to create a very easy listening type of album
Yeah.
that you can just have it on whether you're doing chores around the house, whether you just wanna relax, out on a walk, working, and which I think is so true. Like, you can
You
just
see, I
have
don't.
this album.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
see. I personally don't do background music. If it's background music for me,
Oh, I
it's
love.
no. For me, background music would be orchestration. So it would be original
Mm.
soundtracks and things like that's background music to me. But even then, I get more involved with it. I don't tend to listen to music like that. I tend to engage with
I love
music.
background music.
Nah.
And then he talked about the live performance video, as we said. He said that they wanted to create a visual representation of
Mm.
all the songs in addition to us being able to just listen to them through streaming. I thought this was really bold of him, which I personally think World is a masterpiece, so I think it will be timeless, but he said he felt that World could be a timeless album.
I agree with that. Yeah, yeah. I
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will be one of
Um,
the known works. I think it will
yeah,
be a
for
work that's
sure.
put against their name and sort of, mentioned before others, shall we say.
Yeah, I think in a way of that Heal is a timeless album in terms of their body of work. I think
Yeah.
World would be too. I mean, someone commented that the Rose should perform at Glastonbury Festival, and he was like, "Oh my god, we would love that." Which, like, that would be such a great festival for them.
Oh god, Glastonbury is an amazing festival. I don't think people have any comprehension about how big Glastonbury is. I mean, it's literally like the size of
Yeah.
a town. It's huge. I mean, it can take you all day to walk from one side of Glastonbury to the other. There's stages everywhere, so they could literally. I mean, they want to be on the pyramid stage. If you're going to do Glastonbury, you want to be on pyramid.
Yeah, I think you were surmising that they probably are gonna try to hit the festival circuit hard in 2026, so maybe
Yeah, I
they would
think so.
try
I
for
think they've
something
kind
like
of got
this.
to. Glastonbury's a weird one though.
Mm.
You have to be invited by the Ennis family to do it because it is still run
Oh.
by a family. It's not
Mm,
run by a promotion team
mm,
or anything like that. So you kind of have to
mm,
a little bit like Coachella. You kind of have to sort of like bid your way in, or you have to be invited. Um,
mm.
so
Interesting.
that's a big job for somebody to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll end with this, listeners. So, Kelly, we're at least prepared. He's claimed he's doing another, quote, "AI podcast style" again.
Yeah,
So now
apparently.
we were prepared, Kelly. We won't be as freaked out when he comes on live, which could be any day now because he said in a couple
Yeah.
days. But
Yeah.
his focus this time is gonna be about talking about the tour.
It would be interesting to get a few sort of ideas about their logistical concepts of what they're doing on stage
Yeah,
and yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to know what the actual set list is for the show. I
Oh,
mean, we know we've
that's
got
where you and I differ.
no, you see, that's the thing. I mean, the guys, I mean, I'm used to seeing bands who will have a basic set list and then they'll do the stuff they'll move in and out on a daily basis. So when they go and do a show, you could see them several nights on the trot and not hear the same thing night after night after night. The guys tend to
Mhm.
stick to a very formatted set list. So you
Oh,
know what they're
yeah.
playing in Zurich is what they're playing at the very end of the tour.
The Rose, if you're listening, Kelly, I love to give them tons of ideas. I do, for free, the
Hmm.
Rose.
Oh yeah,
Here's
for free.
another
Yeah.
one. I agree with you, and I mean, I will admit, I haven't seen them live. I've just seen Sammy live. I've only watched fan cams of the Rose, but I agree with you from what I've seen of their live performance. Now, this is not the quality of their performance. It's just kind of, I guess, like you're saying, like their format or whatever. They stick to the script. And I
Yes.
think they need to break the script.
every
I'm
now and
thinking of
again
my
you do.
experience at CN Blue,
Mm,
which, yeah, maybe they, kinda knew they were gonna do this, but how it came off is that, like I said, like, they would riff and it would be like, the song is now an 8-minute song
yeah,
because Younghwa is up there just, like, strumming the shit out of that guitar and,
yeah,
Min Hyuk is just, like, banging on the drums with him and just flowing, and it's
yeah,
like, I want that. Like, dude,
yeah.
like, give me just, like, a riff and where y'all are just, like, fucking playing. Like, it's not
But
scripted. Just be like,
again,
I don't know.
this goes back to the whole thing of the K-idol pop thing versus being a fucking rock band. A
Yeah.
rock band will just go for it. The guys have still got
Yeah,
this
just go
slight
for it.
mindset of Korean Idol thing, and I hate to
Yeah.
say it, they need to just fucking get rid of it. They
Yeah,
need
because we know.
they're a pop rock band. Just do that. It doesn't matter. I mean, every band goes out and plays. You have a set list, but you allow your musicality and your
Yes.
abilities to sort of come out of the box every now and again. We all talk about the laments. I mean, the fact that you
Mhm.
have a lament says everything. I mean, you don't just go out and talk to the audience. Some of the best shows I have ever seen, the frontman, and not necessarily always the frontman, but they have quite literally just stood and had a conversation with a member of the audience, and it's turned into sheer hilarity, and it's just been fantastic. Jared Leto, 30 Seconds to Mars, is amazing at it. That man is
Mhm.
just such a good frontman. But the reason he's such a good frontman is he's just such a good people person. And the fact that they
Yeah.
evolve and they know, and but they know I've got 2 minutes for me to do this before that song needs to start. So they're not messing
Yeah.
around. They're actual people who are doing the lights and the sound because you need to be
Mhm.
regimented with these things anyway.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have a
Yeah.
set time, that explosion's going to go off at that point, that video is going to trigger at that point, because it's not just the band; it's bigger than that. But saying that, you still need that experimentation.
Right, you'd say, like, "In this portion of the show, guys, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to waffle," but you let the music take you. Like,
You do
you just riff, you just play because we say this all the time, they are incredible musicians, and
Mhm.
sometimes I don't think they realize their level of musicianship. They stay
Exactly.
in a lot of times the cookie cutter,
Yeah,
and
and
I want them to break out of that.
can I just say this, and I will freely admit it, so this is going out to the world. So I think the very first gig I went to, I was 11, and it was Van Halen. The bar started high, and I have
Yeah.
seen thousands of bands. I'm not even talking hundreds of bands. I have seen thousands of bands. And I can honestly say, hand on heart, the show in London was in the top 3 shows I've ever seen. If I say one of the other ones was Black Sabbath on their reunion tour when I was a teenager, and then we've also got, I think I'm probably going to say Rob Zombie as one of my other ones.
Ooh.
That's giving you a caliber of how good the guys are live. I just think every now and again they need a little bit more self-confidence and just let themselves go. And it
Yeah.
was Lollapalooza, the after show party, and they literally just took songs from the audience and they just let their hair down. And you know what? You can tell they fucking loved that.
Do you know, listeners, if you've never seen that content, there is some great fan cams available on
Yes.
YouTube. I highly recommend you go find it. It is my favorite concert of theirs to watch
Yeah.
because of that very fact. It was organic, it
Yep.
was raw, it was back to their busking days, which that is the root of who they are. And I think I
Yes.
just want them to, like, insert more opportunities in their formal live concerts to just be natural like that.
Just let go. It doesn't have
Yeah,
to
just
be
let
so
go.
controlled. You don't have to be so perfect. Admit to being human.
Yeah.
Just go out there and do it and just laugh your ass off. Because if you laugh, the audience will laugh. And they'll remember
Yeah.
how amazing you were and just fucking enjoy it. Because people can tell, yeah,
Yeah.
if you're going through the
Mhm.
motions, you can tell. And I hate to say it,
Yeah.
I am not gonna name the individuals and I'm not gonna name the show, but I have seen certain footage of said show and I've actually attended the same tour at a different date and I have looked at it and gone, they're going through the motions. You can
Mm.
actually tell that
Yeah.
that particular night they were going through the motions. No, no,
Yeah.
get out there, be yourself. Whatever your self
What's gonna
is, just
lead
be out, do
It's
it.
gonna lead into I think that's gonna lead into our deep dive discussion, so why don't you wrap up our hot takes? We have one quick thing, and then let's dive
We
into
do.
episode
Well,
5.
technically, we've got two quick things, but that's only because somebody went ping while we were doing this.
Oh!
So
Oh, yes, that's right, we got a ping. That's
we got a
right.
ping. So I'll do both. So on the
Yes.
31st of May, we had the album lyric video drop. Now, originally, it said album lyric video. I was expecting this just to be, we didn't. We got
Yeah.
these beautiful digitally animated lyric videos for every single track. I'm assuming done by the same company that did the intro video for like Roadstar and everything else.
Yeah.
So just lovely. And God, the iconography in them. There is so much to look
So beautiful.
into these actual videos. So again, we'll do these when we do the deep dives into the songs. Personally, the only one I found ever so slightly weird was I think was it tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow with the cornfield and the rainbow, and then the
Mm.
children of the corn at the end. What was it
Oh,
with the
yeah.
weird Aryan children of the corn at the end? That freaked me out a bit. That bit I was like, what am I watching? I was half expecting this to be like a corn effigy with a man inside screaming because he was being burnt to death. Sorry, I watched way too many horror movies as a kid.
Oh,
Stuff I shouldn't have been watching. That's all I'm saying. And
man.
then whilst we've been doing this, we had a customer survey which pinged up on the Rose area. Because how
Sammy.
else do you describe it as a customer survey? So Mr. Kim pinged up and wanted to know, so what's your favourite song on World?
Oh. How would you answer him so far,
I did
Kelly?
actually answer. I did answer while you
Ooh,
weren't looking.
just saying.
So I don't know. I love all of them. I think the entire
Mm,
body of work is gorgeous. The entire thing's beautiful.
mm,
And I personally think actually out of the 7 tracks that are on there, there are only 2 that I'm a bit like, okay, still great songs. So I could have picked any of them. But for some bizarre reason, Ticket to the Sky is kind of stuck in the back of my head. There's something about
mm,
that song that's resonating, and I think it's possibly more the lyrics than the actual song. But
mhm.
I do love that one. There's something about that I really really love. But that's the one I said. But
Okay.
Nebula, Nevermind, and obviously Slowly. Those 4 I love. Um,
Yeah. I think Ticket to the Sky is growing on me the more I'm hearing it, and I
yes,
think
I
it's
think it's
like
a
you
slow
said,
burn, that one. I think
it's
it's
a
a slow
slow
burn.
burn, and I'm focusing on the lyrics, which I think like Sammy said in his initial live stream back in March, this album is lyrically heavy, like, more
Yeah,
than the melodies to me. The instrument I
yeah,
think Slowly's got some tremendous instrumentation we're gonna dig into, but I think the focus are the meaning behind the lyrics on these songs,
yes.
and so I think Ticket to the Sky is, kind of I'm liking it more and more, but I think my 2 are still Slowly and Nebula.
Yeah.
They're really hitting me hard, those 2.
Yeah, I mean, I have a soft spot for Nevermind as well, I must admit. But I
Yeah.
I tend to find I
Yeah.
think the entire EP, I mean, we're sort of looking at this, is very obviously the outside thing of this is the world, we are one world, this is the future,
Mhm.
the children of the future, all of that type of malarkey. But for me, sort of like reading the lyrics, I get this feeling of it's more like a personal war and it's shadow work.
Mm.
It's the shadow work that you undertake to evolve and become your next level of person.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's understanding yourself and it's about having the courage to break free from old cycles. We'll
Yeah.
get into this. I mean, we've had some quite deep discussions about this, which we'll bring up later on. You know, it's a lot about, I think it's about finding your metaphorical home as well, not just a physical home, but a
Mhm.
metaphorical home of where you belong and exist. And to me, I don't think that's a destination. I think that's a soul tribe. I think that's your people that you
Mhm.
find. But yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think they've really done very, very well with it. And I must admit, I was a bit speechless when I first heard it, as you will attest to
Yeah.
when we were on station head. It was like, Kelly, what do you think? And I went,
I know,
so
yeah,
for me
me
to be stuck
too.
for
It's been
words,
hard to
that says something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been hard to just kinda gather my thoughts about it. I finally posted today on the Rosarium and, shared my thoughts. I do think it is I I think it's their best body of work to yet,
Yeah, so
even
do
better
I.
than Heal,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
as a body of work.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's amazing. I think it is powerful. I think in a way, it's such a shame to me that they will never get the visibility they deserve. I
Mm.
think it's Grammy worthy.
I
Will
think
they ever
this
get recognized at that level?
Mm,
No, but
I think eventually they will do if they carry on the way they're going. I think they will do. I think they'll build the
yeah,
traction to do it. But I think they also need to realize that they just need to be themselves. They need to be true to themselves. They
yeah,
need to go forward
yeah,
with that. And the world will,
yeah,
the audience and the world will find them. You don't need to chase an audience. An audience will find you. You
that's
build it,
true.
they will come.
That's true. That's true. Very true. Very
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I love that. Well, let's go into our deep dive. So, again, listeners, we're going to talk about episode 5 and 6 of photosynthesis. So, Kelly, let's start with 5. This one was called Back to Basics. And I think some of what we're talking about in the themes, now that we've gotten world, it's been
Mm.
fascinating to see them creep up in these episodes,
It
which we didn't
has.
really
True.
realize maybe before when we didn't hear world as a body of
Mm.
work. But this one to me, the point of this was I think listeners, we're going to spend most of the time kind of talking about this conversation that the guys had at the beginning of the episode. They're sitting in a cafe, and the point of this episode is kind of this statement of losing your spark, or how do you keep your spark? Um, and I think that's a deep question. I think this
Mm.
has been this is to that theme you talked about of the internal struggle we're seeing in a lot of these songs and world. World is obviously showing us internally. We said this in previous episodes, I think, particularly in Into the X verse, when we talked about what we could read between the lines of things that Sammy said in his responses to fans. Burnout. They've
Yes.
dealt heavily with burnout, and I think
Mm.
they've dealt heavily with how do we keep the hunger and the spark we had when we started. So the point, listeners, of this episode was, if you aren't familiar with, some of the history of the Rose, when they first started, there was an Irish film, ironically, like, it's an
Mm.
Irish film,
Yeah.
this kind of lower
Yeah.
budget, it seems like, called Sing Street, and it's a musical comedy, kinda coming of age film of a boy that starts a band to impress a girl. It's set in the 1980s in Ireland, and so when they all saw this starting out, I think they saw themselves in this movie, and it
I
resonated
I
hugely
think that
with them.
I think they must have. I mean, I found when I first heard about it, I mean, I kind of tittered to myself and I was like, seriously? I remember seeing this at the cinema and it being sort of like one of those sort of B
Mhm.
tier movies. And that's in the UK. So we get a lot of Irish cinema. And some of it's
Mhm.
fantastic. I kind of get I can't remember if there was sort of like, because it was like Killing Bono that came out before this. And then this is sort of like a sort of more saturated version of that that's come afterwards with like a similar ideology. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean, it's if you haven't seen it, it's worth watching. It's a very sweet film. I'll say that. And I can understand why a band would see themselves in it. Um,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
mean, it is all about hope and dream and sort of envisioning where you're going to be in the future. And any musician will tell you that they've all had those dreams of walking out
Yeah.
onto into Wembley Arena or wherever it is, and just being this miraculous. thing and this level of perfection. I mean, you get to where you're going, you get to a destination, but it's never necessarily the destination that you dreamed it was going to be. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller.
That's some of what they talk about. So we
Mm,
learned the filming time of this episode was February because the second I saw Ha-Juni, I knew he was in the same outfit he posted on Rosarium on
yeah,
February 7th. So if
yeah,
we know that they did and they hinted in this that they did the writing session in Busan in December.
yeah,
So this is like a month from them coming out of that writing session. So all of that
yeah,
work is still so fresh. And they talk about they talk about how when they first saw the movie, and I so can see Dojun being the one to do this. He was like, "Guys, we've got to watch this every year. Like this will be our thing, right? This
Can
will
we
be our
can can we
way to
can we just
remind
point out when
ourselves."
he said it?
Oh my god. Totally they were all taking a piss in the
They were all
bathroom.
taking a leak, yeah. See, because they
Which is
always go. Why do they always say women always go to the toilet together? Guys do it.
we
Guys
go
always
as
go to the
one.
toilet together.
We go as one.
They do. We go as one.
Oh my god. But I so can see Dojun. He's a very sentimental person.
Yeah, he
Like
is. Yeah,
he seems like very sentimental. Um and yeah, I think that was their way to say if we watch this every year, let's be reminded of the hunger we had at the beginning,
yeah.
of the spark that we had because the industry will beat us down and we'll lose it, right? Like
Mhm.
losing that spark. Um, and so then they kind of talk about the movie, and I think Sammy shares that his favorite part um was the point where the character imagines how everything could work out in his head. And in real life, he tries it out, but it doesn't really go the way he thought. It's kind of like what you just said,
Mm.
a moment ago that for Sammy, like looking back on that storyline now, it hits kind of differently because you realize they had all these dreams when they started out, and things definitely haven't necessarily gone the way they planned. And he said, as you imagine yourself, you're writing music and you're recording it and you're filming music videos and you're doing all of these things. But he kind of said, like, you end up back to where you started. So it's almost like this concept of like you're doing all of this work, but you're not really moving forward. You're
Yeah,
just kind of like spinning, or you just end up right back like
you're
where you
treading
began.
water.
Yeah, you're treading water. Um, yeah, and so I think that Dojun adds that when they all started, they were kind of blind. They were blind to all of that. And, here there are all these young guys coming from their own little parts of the world, their own little hometowns, all coming together with a common dream,
Mhm.
right? To make music and hopefully be successful in making music, right? So that was kind of the conversation. What it leads to is them so when they were first starting out, they recreated like a scene in Sing Street or kind of made this little video. It is still on their YouTube channel. And so they thought it'd be fun to like recreate that. And that's kind of what they do is they film and they go find props and stuff like that. But I just think this conversation now that we've heard World, like hearing them talk about not losing the spark, I do think that's a lot of what they've been struggling with, don't you, Kelly?
Oh God, yeah, easily, without any shadow of a doubt. I think you all go through it. You go into
Mhm.
music sort of like wide-eyed, and I'm going to conquer the world, and everybody's going to love me, and anything that you think along those lines, and it doesn't necessarily work
Mhm.
out. You evolve, you bounce. I mean, the guys actually been incredibly lucky. They
Mhm.
are sort of like a first band that's got together. There's been no sort of movement on who they are as a band or anything like that. And they have managed to strive forward, and they have got an international audience and a following that allows them to have a career and one that is steady, and they know that if they put music
Mhm.
out, that they have enough supporters out there that they could have a career for the next 10, 15 years without any issue whatsoever at all, if that's what they desire to do.
Mhm.
But yeah, other people will go through different sort of bands and different this and different that. Personally, I mean, I don't know, but I think I've been in 8 bands, and I've done, session work for other people and things like that. And I've just bounced around and then gave up in the middle of it. I had a period of time where I sat back and I thought to myself, dear God, why have I done all of this? I kind of forgot. So, them saying you potentially lose your spark, what happens is you sort of sit back and you go, why have I done this? What have I
Mm.
attained out of it? And you kind of forget actually that what you've done, because you weigh up what you haven't done. And that's the problem. You weigh up what you haven't achieved against what you have
Mhm.
achieved. And what you have achieved, you kind of forget most of it. And you forget actually the main part of what you achieved is the fact that it makes you happy. It brings you
Yeah.
joy. You love
Yeah.
creating, you love expressing yourself, you love sharing that aspect of that human connection with the outside world. And actually, that's the most important thing. But a lot of the time, you sometimes have to step away from that to realize that. And I think because
Yeah.
they've come off the back of this huge tour, and I mean, bearing in mind, I mean, the guys have literally been like writing, recording, touring, writing, recording, touring. And I mean, we're talking 3.5 years, nearly 4 years of solid work from the guys coming out of the army to the end of Coachella. That period of time is just, they didn't get a break. They didn't get holidays in this. Literally, it's
Yeah.
the only industry in the world where you know that you're not necessarily going to get a set holiday off and everything else. But people still expect you to carry on like a machine. And this is how people get
Yeah.
burnt out. And when you get burnt out,
Yeah.
you then start questioning things like, why am I doing this? Was there any point doing this? What have I achieved? I might as well
Yeah.
just go and live in a cave. Is normality where I want to be? And then you suddenly
Mhm.
realize afterwards that actually, when you've experienced normality for about 5 minutes and you're like, can I go back to Wonderland, please? Because actually, I'm much happier there.
So I think we're not really gonna dig into the I think the rest of the episode is just kind of them filming, but there were just like some funny scenes, Kelly, that I think
It
is
did
worth
make me
like
laugh.
noting.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
giggling through it.
So I have to say my favorite part was when they're all gathering their stuff and they've all agreed and they set out what they're gonna film and they get to leave. And Ha-Jun comes in with his dagger on Sammy. Ha-Jun got picked as the executive producer and investor. So basically, he's going to pay for all the props
Yes.
and everything. And Sammy made some comment about, I can't remember how he made it, but basically, it was like him, you don't have to give him any money.
Just knock the 20,000 one on the head. He's happy if his name doesn't
Right.
appear on the end of it, on the
Yes,
credit.
that's what it was. Yeah, and Ha-Jun was, like, making fun of his humble beginnings. He's like, "You lost your humble beginnings the moment you walked in with that Chanel sweater." So, listeners, if you don't know, Sammy has this Chanel sweater from, like, 15 years ago that the man wears constantly. He wears it all the time, and I have to laugh because his exact outfit in this episode was literally what he wore to the Epic High concert, where Epic High made fun of him in
For the
the
same
Chanel
reasons.
sweater.
Yeah. Can we just point
Same reason.
out it's not a sweater, it's a cardigan.
Yes, it's a cardigan, I
It's a
guess, which
cardi.
like is to
It's a
me is a
card.
type of
And
sweater, but
thankfully it's a Chanel one, which is why it's lasted as long as it has.
because it would be threadbare
It would
as
be
long as the
great.
man has had it and he wears it all the time. But kudos to the editors. I don't know who edits their episodes, but I love you because the editors put on the funniest comment that basically called him Mr. Same Look Every Day, which is something I always tease him about in this podcast, that he literally wears the same clothes all the time.
Hence the
That was
fact he ends up as Steve
hysterical.
Jobs in a later episode.
And it was so funny. Then I loved when the guys go shopping for props and they're in this flea market and Sammy goes to try on something and the little lady was so cute because she looked at him and she told him how handsome he was. And then she
Oh
asked him if
god.
he was an idol. I thought that was hysterical. Then they basically shoot the scenes. And one other thing is this will come in at the start of episode 6, but Sammy finds a little rainbow cardigan that like struck his fancy.
Can we just point out, surprise, surprise, he'd not got his wallet with him, so who ended up buying it?
How actually, none of the rest of the guys had their wallets, which is like, who's a grown man that doesn't walk around with your wallet? What is wrong with you guys? Like, what?
However, but
And
please bear in mind though. I mean, they probably got the phones with them, but those type of places you'd have to pay cash.
yeah, like, get your wallet. Like, don't you have an ID with you? Like, don't you need your identification? Like, what? You are an adult man. Like, carry a wallet, buddy. And I think the other one is Taekyum. I love Taekyum. He always be eating. He'd be like, "Let's get a snack." He's over there eating in the flea market.
He found a food store within 3 seconds. That man
He
is
found a
part
food store.
bloodhound.
I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you, Taekyum. I am not mad at that. We know that.
He'd found food
Um,
within 3 seconds. Actually, let's get
he
this right. Tay is who you need to be with during a zombie apocalypse because you will never starve.
I know. I should have picked him instead of
Should have.
Dojun, maybe. Yeah.
Military trained as well. You could have
Um,
survived.
Yeah. Then they film I would just think a couple funny things as they film the scenes. Sammy was the camera person, and the guys were giving him the hardest time throughout the
The bit
filming, which was
when he was zooming in and they kept jumping in front of the camera.
oh my god, that
And
was
you
so
could tell he
funny.
was getting ever so slightly stressed because the camera was wobbling ever so slightly. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not laughter. That's because you're going to turn around and tell him to F off in a minute.
I know. He was getting kind of annoyed at them. They weren't relenting either. They kept doing it
No,
over and over
they knew
again.
it was winding him up and they were enjoying it.
I know. And then, we've said this about Hajun throughout this show. He's really come out of his shell. You're able to
Yes.
see so much more of his personality. He had some funny one-liners all throughout this episode, but my favorite was when he commented about Dojun running around in his scene and he was just like, do you know, do he talked about looking weird, which we've said in almost every episode of this show. They have some comment about how weird they all are, which
Come
was so
on.
funny.
I mean, they are, bless them. I mean, the reason that we love them is because they're the most awkward bunch of dorks you've ever seen.
I know. I love that so much about them. And then this is the best way to end the synopsis of this episode is they ended the episode with Hajun saying, because Sammy's scene, he does this spinning and he looks at Sammy and he goes, huh, look at him. He's lost both his spark and his balance. And it was like, nope, let's end it there. Oh, that was perfect. All right, that wraps up episode 5, Back to Basics. So why don't you take us into episode 6?
So, episode 6 is the Rose Game, which, if anybody's seen Squid Game, we're in kind of the same. Nobody gets shot that we know of. Oh, well, actually, tell a lie. Did they? There was talk of getting shot.
Oh,
Nobody
yes!
physically got shot. So
There
we'll just put
was
that
at the
there.
beginning of this one.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So the episode begins with the guys in their little garage as per normal, as per that 70s show. And Sammy's wearing his cardigan that he bought in episode 5.
Mr. Same clothes every day. I'm calling it, listeners. We're seeing this little cardigan on tour. I know it'll be dead of summer, and nobody should wear a wool cardigan in the dead of summer, but I'm calling it right now. That man's bringing it on tour with him. I guarantee it. He loves that little thing.
He does. Instead of his safety baseball cap, it's become his safety cardigan.
It's a little bit too short for him, though, isn't it?
It is ever so slightly too short for him.
Which, given how small of a person he is,
ever so slightly too tight across the shoulders as well.
Is it a kid's cardigan? Is like how did he find something too small for his body?
Oh, don't be mean. It's not that bad. It's not that small. Isn't it normally me that's calling him?
Was
Hold on, the tables have
he
turned
shopping
here.
in the
Hold
kids
on.
section of that flea market? Where was he? Where did he
Obviously,
find
yeah.
this?
One of the great things in the world is when you put four men in a room, allow them to just talk absolute shit for hours on end, but then someone in the
Mm.
absolute genius goes, "Oh, let's give them a load of sugary treats." Is this really a good idea? Is it really a good idea to get them hamped up on sugar? I mean, it's like
I
giving toddlers
know.
sugar. It's probably
It
not a good
is with
idea.
these guys. Oh my
And obviously,
god.
along with the sweets, we also had a nice collection of toys suddenly appear from nowhere. And the guys started talking
Mhm.
about their childhood and various things that had happened during it. And they were talking about various toys and games that they'd loved and enjoyed. And we found out that we have two kleptomaniacs in the band as well, which is quite interesting. At which point,
Were you surprised by this?
no.
I feel like now that we heard some of their childhood stories from, like, episode 3, I wasn't surprised that
No,
Dojun and Hajun were, like had stolen things as little kids
no,
either.
I'm not surprised by that at all, to be perfectly honest. I'm not shocked.
Yeah,
I mean, what made me laugh more than anything was the fact that the invisible telephone came out with a call to the police to get the criminals collected.
that was funny, that was funny.
Yeah, because
Sammy.
obviously, number one snitch in the room, because that's just what you want, isn't
We
it, to be perfectly
we
honest?
we've definitely realized that Leo we said this before, I mean, his Saju was the icy river with the flame, that he's this
Yeah.
hothead, like, he was
He's
a bad boy.
punching people as well.
He
How
was a
terrible.
bad boy. Like, he
Yeah.
comes off as this, like, kind of, like, sweet, like, a little dopey sometimes.
Don't let that smile and that goofy persona sway you.
No, this is
Don't.
what I'm saying. Remember I called it before? I want this solo album from Dojun where he gets deep.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's there. You know, it's there.
Fire,
It's
man.
not all pink and bubblegum and everything else.
No
There's
way.
definitely something a bit deeper in there. This is Editor Cal. Please be aware, I do not suffer with a split personality disorder. I apparently fall into a Yorkshire/Derbyshire accent when I reminisce about things. A little bit like. So then obviously
Mhm.
we go from kleptomaniacs to, yeah, I'm going to run and hide behind my grandma. So Sammy tells the story of his heroic battles with a BB gun. Now, may I just point out, so obviously I'm a little bit of a tomboy, so all my best friends growing up were all boys, and of course all boys have to have a BB gun. And my greatest memory of a BB gun was one of my mates getting shot in the arse. So as soon as somebody starts talking about BB guns, that literally flagged into my mind straight away. I will just point out it was his younger brother that shot him in the arse as well. So that just says everything, doesn't it?
That's so
So,
funny.
so Sammy tells the tale of his heroic deeds with his BB gun fighting against the older kids, and the fact of how a brilliant military tactician he was, and he was firing all the pellets off and everything else.
Oh.
And then the older kids caught up to him and beat 3 shades of shit out of him. So being sad, he ran to tell his nana, and I don't think he necessarily got the exact results he expected out of his grandma.
I know. What do we think is his Harumoni did? Like, she probably was, like, scolding him.
I think so, yeah. I think so too. What are you doing playing with a
like,
BB gun at your age?
I feel like what we just, like, know of him, like, this is so little kid Sam to me. Like, this, like, annoying little kid that has
It's
the
not laughing.
audacity to shoot these older boys and think he's not gonna get his ass beat. Yeah. Yeah, like, these middle school kids were like, "What the hell?" Like,
Oh, Sammy.
"We're not
Oh,
gonna let
bless
you
you,
get away with this."
sweetheart. Oh, it's terrible that. So I would have stood laughing, to be honest. I mean, I stood laughing when my mate got shot in the arse. Oh
Oh,
dear.
too funny. I love that story, that was cute.
It was very, very cute, very, very
I've
funny.
really
So
enjoyed in a few of these episodes, we've gotten them reminiscing. I've really
yes.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've found it very sweet, and it's been quite nice to actually listen to them reminisce, not just
Yeah.
about the actual band and everything, but also it's like their own
Yeah,
childhood and what they started out with and the people that they've become, and I think that's been really, really
yeah.
sweet. Um, they then sort of started creating a list of kids' games that they would play, and they'd create a bingo board, which didn't kind of work out because obviously they'd done it as they'd not done enough for it to be a bingo card as such.
Mhm.
And basically the idea was for them to get a line of three out of the nine
Yeah.
games that they picked. So they started on this. How shall we put it politely? So men, when they get together, get a little bit competitive. I
Oh, a
don't know what
little?
I don't know what it is, but they tend to get just a tiny, tiny bit competitive. And
Oh my god.
yes. So then it
The guys got
started.
so competitive with each other throughout this. It was hysterical.
It was hilariously funny. So it started out with stone flicking. So, I mean, you might have seen this on various K dramas and things. The idea of this is that you set up your stones in a formation and against your opposition's formation, and you flick the stone to remove their stone from the table. Yeah. Let's just say some of them aren't strategists. So there was some interesting things put there, and you're just kind of like, what the hell are they doing? And so it was the first to knock all four stones off of the actual board, and the final round was Sammy versus Hajun. And of course, after much baiting, Hajun won.
Yeah. I feel like throughout a lot of these games, we're gonna see a theme of, like, Hajun and Taegyum seem so much better at all these things than Sammy and Leo do.
Yeah, I don't think that's hard though, really, is it? I mean, you've got the actual doers and the mouth. So the
Oh my
next
gosh.
one was right, okay. Eraser wrestling. Now, of course, now I had to ask Anne what she meant by eraser because we don't call them erasers in the UK, they're rubbers.
Don't say
No,
that word!
they're rubbers. It's a rubber. Look, this is my pencil, and at
No!
the top of it, there's a rubber. It's not an
No,
eraser, it's
no!
a rubber.
Don't say that, it means something so different in the United States. Oh my goodness.
It also means something else in the UK as well, but I mean, that's a rubber. All kids go to school with a rubber in the back.
No! Don't say kids go to school with a rubber in their pocket.
They
That's
do! They
hysterical.
do! Honestly, they do!
Oh my gosh,
Not
that's
the type
hysterical.
you're thinking of.
Is this exactly how you feel when I say pants all the time and you
Exactly, when you
cringe
say pants
inwardly?
all the time instead of trousers. Yes, exactly. Exactly that.
Ugh, I'm, like, cringing over here.
Oh, yeah, but
Mm.
yeah, God, sorry. Anyway, so the eraser game, just to make you feel comfortable. I won't say
Thank
the other
you, thank
word.
you,
I won't say the other
thank
word.
you.
Anyway, so they flick the eraser. I nearly said they flick the rubber there for a minute.
That was even worse. They flick the rubber.
Oh, I'm just so sorry.
Oh,
Anyway,
dear.
moving swiftly on. They flick the eraser
Oh.
and you win by landing your eraser on your opponent. Now, if I'd have used a different terminology, that could have sounded very differently then for a second.
Oh, goodness. That's a whole different game.
That's a whole different conversation, that one. Anyway, Sammy makes a joke that Hajin doesn't even understand, bless him, because it refers to the fact that Hajin's very nice jumper. I will admit, I quite like this jumper as well. I am a bit of a jumper aficionado. And he said that he looked like the Cookie Monster. And of course, as per normal, it got completely and utterly missed.
Here
He
we
didn't pick
go.
up on
We
it at
already
all.
said
Well, he is Cookie Monster Blue, and I must admit, Cookie Monster is one of my favourites, along with the Count. So yes, I mean, I could definitely understand. Anybody who knows me will guarantee they will get the Cookie Monster face palm give at least 3
But, like,
times a day from me.
is the second example of Sam making a joke that has to be explained.
Explained.
Like, Leo, I think it's Leo that tells Hajun what he's talking about. And I'm calling you out, Sammy, because you totally made the same joke to Taegyum in episode 2
He did.
when he wore a blue sweater.
He did. It's
So
true. He did.
he's even recycling his stale ass jokes.
It still makes me laugh. Why is he so wrong? Why does he make me laugh?
I don't know, because he's not. When he tries to be funny, Uzong is not funny.
I find him funny when he's trying to be funny, though. That's the worst thing.
Well, then, yeah, oh my God.
That
That
just
man
tells you
cracked.
something about my weird ass sense of humor. But anyway,
I guess so.
oh dear. So after having an eraser hanging off the edge of the board, it got all exciting for a minute or two. We didn't know whether or not it was the end of days. I mean, it was like it was like teetering on the edge.
They got really into it. Oh
I
my
know.
God. They did.
And
They got really into it.
and then obviously Tay actually won. Surprise, surprise! At the end of that.
Yeah.
Then
He
we
was
got
good
into
at
the,
that game.
he was good. He was very, very good. And then we got on to hopscotch, which is a bit of a
Oh my
weird one.
God.
I
It
remember
was
like
kind of weird. I'm sorry, seeing 4 30-year-old men play hopscotch
oh no, let's correct this.
was, like,
3
hysterical.
no, let's correct this. 3 30-year-old men playing hopscotch because somebody bowed out. Somebody didn't even bother.
I think he was just like, Sammy was at the point where it's like, what am I doing?
Yes. I think so. I think there was a little bit of that. So why am I doing this?
32 years old. Why am
Why am
I
I doing
doing
this?
this?
I think so.
He's just like, I don't even want to win. So take him. You can have this one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's won anyway, so let's just leave it at that. But it was quite entertaining just seeing them almost nearly fall, especially Dojon nearly fall flat on his arse. He was determined he was getting his feet in that last point, and it wasn't going to happen.
Funny.
And then, I mean, I'm sure at some point the VR came out just to check exactly where that stone had landed. Was it in? Was it out? Was it on both? It was like watching Wimbledon. It was that level of excitement.
Right.
I am lying, of course, but But I mean, he did get to that point. And then now this is a weird one. So this is obviously used in Squid Game as sort of the start of how you are initiated into Squid Game. And this is jidaki, and you put a jidaki down on the floor and you hit it with another one, which causes it to flip. Now I kind of looked at this when it was on Squid Game and thought, I kind of remember this, but I couldn't quite click why I remembered it. And then I suddenly remembered it was Pogs.
Yeah.
We called it Pogs. So we had circular ones that we used in the UK, and they were Pogs, and everybody collected them and used to, throw them at each other instead of actually doing the flipping like you should have done. But you can tell they played this a lot as kids.
I think in the US we had that too, like Pogs, and they were shaped differently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were circular, weren't
But yeah,
they?
they were circular, but this is huge, I think, for Korean kids to play this. Like, you can tell, like you said, they got really into this game.
Oh, I mean, there was some cheating happening as well. There was some definite flexing Yeah, they were happening. There was some
Mhm.
warming up, which shouldn't have happened. It should have been done cold. And then somebody who shall remain nameless decided that it'd be a very good idea to walk over the one that was on the floor.
Gotta watch
Just,
Tay. You
I
gotta watch
know, I
him.
know. That was a bit
He's the
bloody
sneaky
crafty, wasn't
one.
it? He's sneaky, sneaky.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Who won that one? Was that
Yeah,
Tay
this
who
is
actually won that one after cheating?
Yeah, I don't remember either. I think it was because he started to dominate the games at this point. It
Yes.
was either him or it was Sammy
Oh no, I
won.
think Sammy did win it. No, Sammy, because I can remember doing his victory lap around the garage.
Yeah, I think he did win this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, so
he
we'll
did
give him
win
that
this one.
one. Yeah, he won one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Years of misspent youth and all of that type of
Yeah,
thing.
he was pretty good at this one. He sucked at a lot of the other games, but he was decent at this one.
So then we went on to the frying pan game. Does anybody know why it's called the frying pan game?
I don't actually.
I mean,
No,
we
I
we
don't.
we used to have a similar thing, but I think we called it round robin,
Mm.
if I remember correctly. So basically, with this one, is you have to create a beat, and the beat is done by normally sort of clapping your hands, slapping your legs, all of those type of
Mhm.
things. And it has to be a rhythmical beat that does eventually speed up. Whoever you pick has to say the name that many times to the beat and not lose their actual rhythm of what they're doing as well. Um,
Oh, this is
so it,
hysterical.
it was funny. The guys got a little bit too competitive with it. Surprise, surprise. Obviously, Sammy struggled with this one and then did the, but I'm a foreigner. Yeah,
I
of
love
course, because that's
that.
the answer to everything, isn't it? I'm a foreigner. I'm just going to pull that card
I
for
thought
now. Um,
I thought it was hysterical he pulled the Wei card. I was like,
yeah,
"Dude, no. You can't
no,
say that.
no,
No.
no, but
We're
let
not
him
letting that
try.
fly."
I'm going to pull that. I'm going to pull that card. So they started the game again. So when they started it on the second round with all four of them in, Dojan was the first one to get eliminated. I'm kind of not surprised by that, to be honest, as we've seen in later episodes.
I know.
And then Sammy got knocked out, and then it was down to Tay and Hajun, who were both exceptionally good at this. But I kind of expect this actually for the rhythm section. The whole idea of a rhythm
Oh, that's
section is
true.
counting and being ambidextrous. So if you can't do this, you're not a drummer, and you're definitely not a
That's
bass player.
true. I didn't think
But
about
Tay won.
that.
I kind of expected it to be Hajun that won, but Tay won this.
And I feel like Taekyum looked like this was his game. Like, as a kid, like, he was all into it. He talked about, like he explained the game, like, he was, like, super into it. But,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
him and
yeah,
Hajin at the end
definitely.
going at it was fun.
And then we got on to the Dalgona game. Now, if anybody has watched Squid Game, you will know exactly where we're going with this one. So this one, you have a sugar disc, just basically like a sugar cookie. And in it, there is a imprinted image in the middle of it, which is done by literally just pressing another cookie cutter inside, but you don't go all the way through it. And you have to remove the shape in a cleanest fashion as possible, with one, without breaking the actual cookie, and two, it has to be complete. So the outside has to be complete
Mhm.
and the inside has to be complete. But you pick your shape at random. So again, if you've seen Squid Game, you will have seen this. Nobody got shot at the end of it, so we're all good. And yeah. So normally you have like a circle, an umbrella, a star. I can't remember what the others like, a square. I mean, there's like
Heart.
yeah, exactly, a heart and all that type of thing. And I honestly, it was the most painful thing in the world to watch. It was painful enough watching it on Squid Game, but to actually watch those four do it was even funnier. So you're basically given a pin and you have to etch the shape out. On Squid Game, one of them suddenly realizes that if you actually lick the back of the cookie, it sort of, how shall I put this, weakens the integrity of it. So somebody who is a little cheat, shall we say, thought this was a great idea, and you could see he thought it was a great idea because he picks the cookie up and starts licking it, and then looks at the camera as if to say, "Eh, shit," but keeps going. And then his comrade in arms, who I shall refer to with him, then decided it was a great idea because he was going to do it as well. Can we please not do that shot ever again? Please, no, let's not do that. And then, of course, they go back to the etching, assuming it's going to make it easier. Well, it made it so much easier, and it kind of broke the integrity. As a very astute British lady, there is a law in Britain that if you have tea and biscuits, there are certain biscuits that can only withstand being dunked for so long. Hobnobs are the outright winners. They are multi-dunks. Anything, a rich tea biscuit, one dunk and you're done. And this is kind of what happened with this. It got a little too soggy, shall we say. I think that's probably the nice way you describe it. There's a little bit too much moisture applied. And all of a sudden, somebody looks up at the camera and goes, oh, poo. And then he tried hiding the fact that he'd managed to crack the entire cookie.
Yeah,
So
we got your
surprise,
number,
surprise,
Sammy.
Sammy was the first out, and
Cheater.
if he was in Squid Games, he'd have been dead, then and there. And
Cheater,
so
cheater.
this kind of went on, and then weirdly enough, Hajun, who pulled the easiest of all of them, which was a circle, and he won. However, Hajun did not cheat. He did not apply moisture. He slowly etched it out, and he came out with a perfect circle and a perfect outer circle. So there you go. Cheating doesn't always win, does it? Let's just
I
put it
know.
that
I love
way.
that, like, Tay pulled the hardest one, and I feel like when he got that crazy shape, he was just like, "I'm done. Like, I'm not
done.
even
I
gonna
just
try
can't do
this."
it. Did he get the umbrella? Was his the umbrella?
Yeah, he got, like, something crazy,
I think
yeah.
it was the umbrella. I'm sure it was. It was like, this just isn't happening, is it, to be honest? And then we got on to the zombie game. Now, this made me laugh because I remember playing this at school. And a lot. Weirdly enough, this was one of the games at school that didn't get banned.
Yeah. I know, they love
I
to do that at our school too.
I remember playing things like Red Rover.
I know, everybody.
Did you have Red Rover over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yes,
mean,
and the
just because a few
teachers
kids
made us
broke their
stop.
arm, they had to ban it.
I know.
How
Like, come
rude!
on.
It was a great game.
It's what
How rude
toughened
of
us
you!
up, our
I
generation,
know.
man.
So come on,
Yeah.
seriously, toughen up, toughen up. Yeah, no, when somebody's screaming because
Yeah.
their arm's actually dislocated behind the back, it's not so much fun. But even so, it was a great game. So
I know.
so the guys are playing zombie game. So nobody knows what zombie game is. It's basically hide and seek, apart from the fact that the person who is seeking is blindfolded. So they have to use their other senses to be able to find the people that are hidden. However, when you find the person, you can't just tag them and go, I found you. You basically have to make them submit. So you have 10 seconds to hide, like you do in any hide and seek game. And then the zombie has 3 minutes to find everybody. Oh my God, I have not laughed so
This
much in
this
ages.
game, this and the frying pan game were the funniest to
The
me.
honestly, the zombie game, they could
hysterical.
have played for half an hour and I'd have just sat there laughing at them because it was
I
absolutely
know.
so funny. So who went first? Was it Leo
Leo
first?
went first, and
So
he was so
Leo went
funny.
first. So Leo's literally talking to himself all the way around. May I just point out, why does Hajan think he can disappear if he sticks his arse up in the air?
I
Have you
feel
not
like
noticed this? He thinks if he
just,
tucks
like,
himself up into a small space but sticks his arse up in the air, he's disappeared. Doesn't work
I know.
like that.
I think it worked for him though, in
It
this
did
one
to a certain
anyway.
extent. It did to a certain extent.
Leo
And then
was Leo was so extra, which I feel like if I think of myself, I feel like I would so be him. He's talking
yes,
out
I'd
loud.
agree with
He's
that. I
like,
think you would
"Oh
be.
man, I bumped into this. I bumped into that." And the guys are throwing shit to try to get him off
I know,
track.
exactly. So you've got Jay at one side throwing stuff at
Oh,
Sammy. May I just point out? I mean, the guy likes to point out the fact that he's lazy. He was that lazy, he sat on the settee and lifted the flipping leg rest up on it. So if anybody
think,
ever
like,
plays the zombie game with Sam, just think about anywhere he could potentially be laid down in comfort, because that'll be
'cause I
where he
think
is.
I think 2 out of the 3 he just laid down
He just
somewhere. I
laid
think there's only
down.
one of them we really hid.
He just laid down. It just that was it. I'm sorry. I just
Yeah.
that's so fucking funny. But anyway, so Tay and Sammy were throwing stuff at each other with poor Dojon in the middle trying to find them, and of course he ends up not scoring anything at all. I don't know how he didn't manage that, but he didn't score
Because
anything.
he's so silly because he didn't realize that you have to make the person say, "I
Exactly. So he
surrender."
got Tay.
He got
He
him,
got Tay on, but I
all
mean,
he did was
literally,
tap him and move on.
I know, it was literally a tag, I've got you. He didn't realise he had to punch or pinch or bite or whatever
Now,
to get him to
we
submit.
we know Hajun goes next, and he knows that rule. That
Ooh,
man
he
is
was
ruthless.
vicious. He was vicious. He got them straight away. Well, I say he got them straight away. He got Tay straight away, and then he got Sammy, and yeah. Sammy submitted pretty quickly. But then
Cried like a little bitch. Can
He
I just
did.
say
he did. He really did.
whined like, "My wrist! Ow!
Ow!
I was like, suck it up."
어! 아! 야! 이씨! 오케이.
아, 진짜 어이가 없네. 어떻게 들은 거야?
내가 청각이 좋다고?
Dude, you're a man. Like, come on.
And then, of course, this was the moment, and this is the sheer genius of Dojon. Dojon stood slap bang in the middle of the room and just laughed to himself the entire time. As Hajin was walking past him, he couldn't keep his fucking face straight because he couldn't do anything but laugh.
The look he gets on his face at that point when Hajun literally is walking inches from him.
I know.
It was hysterical.
It was so funny. I was just absolutely howling.
I was howling too.
But of course, Hajun, then time runs out, and Hajun had managed to score 2. So he was quickly in the lead. And then, of course, it was Sammy's turn.
Oh my God, Sammy.
I mean, he obviously has no spatial awareness whatsoever at all.
Yes, no spatial awareness. It's almost like, did he even move 2 like inches from where he started? It was like, how are you finding
No, but
anybody? You're
also
not
the
even
fact-
walking around the room.
Also, the fact he did his weird Ozzy Osbourne shuffle across.
He did.
He was just shuffling across, like, what the hell is he doing? What's going on? This is just a bit bizarre.
It was
let's
so
not do
bizarre. He
this.
was so bad at that. Oh.
I was in absolute hysterics. And surprise, surprise, he scored absolutely nothing whatsoever at all, other than nearly walking into a table.
I know. So funny.
But yeah, that was hilarious. So obviously, of course, it was the infamous bit. So Tegan goes out, and obviously he's got a winner's mindset. Is all I'm going to say. He knew he was going to get them, and he was going to get them good. So he walks up to the back of the room, and the first thing he finds, because apparently, not only does Hajun think that his arse is stuck up in the air is invisible, but Doshan does as well. So he literally walks up and just grabs Doshan's arse.
He grabs his ass. That was the funniest. And Dojin was like, whoa, don't pinch me. Nope, I'm done. I surrender.
That's it. I'm done. That's it. We're fine. Let's stop there. And then, of course, he wanders further up to the top of the room because he starts hearing noise, and then realizes that Hajun, because obviously he can't see at this point, but Hajun is actually hid behind what looks like a shutter door. Oh my God! Hajun held out. He was getting pinched. He was getting punched. And literally, the look of sheer determination. He was not going to let the man win, and then in the end, he had to give up. And then you could see just before time ran out, and it was like, "Where's Sammy? Where can Sammy be?" Well, where was Sammy? Sammy was laid on the floor with a cushion under his head.
Oh my gosh, he was so funny. But yeah, Hajun, he lasted almost a minute.
I know.
Wow.
I
He
know.
was determined.
He was not going to let him win, but so after all of this, they won. So we forgot to point out, I mean, they'd obviously done their usual thing of creating a bet on this, but obviously we know there are certain rules in South Korea regarding betting, and they'd sort of given it this amount that worked out as this amount. And it's like, we can't do that because obviously we'll have to call the authorities because you're betting too much in a private bet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Tagum won the bet and he got his voucher card. I do wonder if that was used for the air diffuse.
I know. Why did I find it really amusing that when they were all naming what kind of, like, gift card they wanted, Sammy said Costco.
Does he need like outer of bog roll?
I found that so amusing because in one mind, I'm like, I feel like Costco is a certain kind of person that goes shopping there. And I'm like, "Is Sammy a Costco guy? Did I not think about this with him?"
I need extra large of everything.
There's a kinda you're a kind of person. Sammy, I didn't know you were a
Put him in one of
Costco
the
guy.
Costco carts now. I assume the carts in America are like the ones they have in the UK.
Oh, they're massive. Because everything at Costco is fucking huge. Like, you get, like, 80 rolls of toilet paper.
I know.
I'm just like, "Is he a Costco guy?" Like,
He
who
obviously
the fuck
is.
shopping
I mean, he didn't have to think about it. That came straight out.
It did come straight out, and do they have Costcos in Korea? I don't know, I just found that really funny. I was like, "Dude, Costco? Like, really? We're going there, Sammy? Alright."
I love that. But anyway,
Yeah, those 2 episodes were cute. I really enjoyed, like, watching them do all the kid games. Alright, let's move into our humorous segment, Kelly. So this time, listeners, I thought since we had this fun episode on kids games, Kelly, imagine you are now competing in the Rose Games with the guys. So which one of those childhood games from episode 6 would you wanna play with the guys that you think you're
well,
gonna win, I guess? Like,
that
which
I'd
one are you
win.
gonna do?
Well, as I said, a lot
Yeah,
of the
which one are you gonna
so as I said, a lot of the games at our school got banned. So I'm gonna go with the zombie game.
Ooh, what's your tactic?
I reckon the zombie game, I think I would psychologically be able to work out where they'd hide. So we've got 2
Ooh,
hiders. There's 2 definite hiders, and they always go for the outskirts to hide. You've got one that's that,
who are those?
oh, that's Hajun and Tay. They operate on the
Okay,
outskirts. So if you walked
okay.
around the edge of the room, you'd find one of them.
Mhm.
Then, of course, you've got Mr. I'm that confident I'm going to stand in the middle of the room and nobody will find me, or I'm going to go slightly off centre the middle of the room and stick my arse up in the air.
I know.
I think I could find our keyboard player quite easily. I think we'd be okay. I think we'd be good with that one. And then, of course, I mean, literally, you just have to sweep the floor, wouldn't you? Or know where the comfy settee was, and then you'd find
Yeah,
Sammy.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
actually, I reckon you could actually just walk around as a zombie and just kick the floor, and you'd eventually find him.
I feel like then you totally have your strategy,
Oh
but
yeah, of course.
how are you gonna so Sammy will give in really quick and so will Leo, but you've got Taekyum and Hajun. You're gonna have to really hold out on them. They're not gonna say, "I surrender," right away.
There's easy ways to make men surrender.
We'll leave it there, maybe.
We'll leave it there.
Alright, I think I'm going frying pan game. Because
Oh, couldn't
this
do
was
it.
my favorite to watch. I was just laughing hysterically, and I personally have no rhythm, so I think I'm gonna be horrible at it, but I would just so enjoy watching and doing it with all the guys because it's kinda like one of those games that when you do it and I've played this game with my friends before, this similar kinda game, you just can't help but, like, get excited and you start laughing and it's just like so fun. And so I just love that game. So I'm going to do the frying pan game. But I'm definitely going to be out first like Dojun cuz
Yeah,
I don't have
I think I'd be out pretty early in it, to be perfectly honest, because I'd just be too busy laughing to be able to do anything.
I know. Oh, Hysterical.
I have just realised something though. That was quite a nice would you rather. Does this mean that next week it's going to be a horrible one again?
Ooh, yeah. I had to give you a break with bad British Sammy, so
Well,
bad
that's
British
only because your
accent
mum.
Sammy.
That's only because your mum told you off.
I know, 'cause my mom said I was being too mean to you, so I had to give you
You
a fun
are.
one.
You're terribly
Yeah,
mean.
we'll come back. I'll come back with something evil next time. All right,
Shock
listeners,
horror.
tell us which of those childhood games you would pick if you got to play the Rose game with the Rose. We can't wait to hear what you guys say. Join us next time as we wrap up our garage. I can't say that. I'm trying, Kelly. Garage files with photosynthesis episodes 7 and 8. These were great episodes. I'm excited to dig into these, Kelly, in our next episode. Please rate our podcast, everybody. Leave us comments about this episode. Tell us what you thought of these 2 episodes of photosynthesis. We love to hear your feedback. If you don't already, follow us on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and X. We are at KRock_cast across the board.
Click here to subscribe.
Email us at krock.cast@gmail.com. And don't forget, check out our website, www.krockcast.com. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.